The beauty of being a woman is that we are all unique. Our wants, needs, and values vary. Join us on this episode of The Wellness Pod as we explore the choices we make as women at home, as well as in our careers, and the ways in which our choices impact our lives and families in the grander scheme. This celebration of women is testament that there is indeed room for us all to flourish. This episode is proudly brought to you by Bravo Marketing. Is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World, Thursday on Purple Nights, and that means one thing and one thing only. We are kicking off the Wellness Pod, and we are wrapping up our series on Women's Month. All month long, my friend and I, Agatha Atlholang, certified wellness and life coach as well as fitness coach, have been really profiling women in society, looking at Agatha Motswana through conversation, and have really been focusing on women-led content, women-centric content this past couple of weeks. And tonight we are here to do a recap, a very necessary recap for you if you have missed the past few episodes. It's going to be very easy to follow along if we do our job correctly. And we invite you to be a part of the conversation as well via 3956962. We're on that line on WhatsApp as well as 14962 on SMS. So let me welcome my co-host, my partner in crime here, Miss Agatha Atlholang. Welcome to the Wellness Pod.
Thank you very much, Ross. And again, I say Gabs FM for having this slot or this feature, so to speak. And well done to you guys. And those of you who are listening, tune in.
Right. So where do we kick off, Agatha, in just looking at, because I think the conversation that we had before we kicked off this episode was something that we touched on last week, in fact, was that you need sort of to service your wellness holistically, but there are certain touch points there you have to service one after the other, and you can't, I guess, do everything at once, but you've got to zone into certain parts of your wellness as a woman, especially as motowamme, and really pick it apart and look at different things independently. And I think we kicked off our first series here on Women's Month with Dr. Tasneem Meeta, and we just discussed work-life balance, because that is something that a lot of women, especially in Botswana, are trying to achieve. But I don't think, we learned before and after the conversation, this is not something you just walk into one day, hello, I'm a wife, mom, and I'm a businesswoman, or I'm an employee, and that kind of thing. And we just looked at the fact that, she mentioned herself, you can have everything, just not at the same time. So, what's your take on that, really?
Well, basically the show, this whole month was really, like you've already said it so well, different aspects. And I think the biggest thing with us, because we focus on wellness, was to really shine a light on the different aspects of Mosadi. Mosadi is just not one thing, she's many things in one. And that women are different. There are women who want to work, women who don't want to work, and that's okay. We spoke on the fact you need to understand who you are, and you need to know the difference between who you are and what you are. And as well, you need to understand that there are different areas, your physical, taking care of yourself, your emotional wellness, maikuto a gago, gore o ntse yang on the inside, go itlhaloganya go ikitse. Social wellness, the circle around you, Ross, as you always say, this year you told yourself, you know what, in as much as I have a lot of guy friends and, I was very close with my dad and close with my mom, I also want to have other women come into my life, bantuta different things. So social wellness, including our relationships, or how healthy are they? And we're also looking at finances, really as basadi, our spiritual wellness, something that Nono Fang's touched on, and Dr. Meeta Abua, spirituality is also a very big part of a human being's life, Your finances are a big part of your life, and your finances also have a spiritual aspect to them. And the kind of job that you do, where is it taking you, all of that. So it was a very, I feel, holistic conversation, you know. And a lot of the times, I think the other thing that I really wanted to put out there is that there are women out there who choose to be stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I've always had a problem with this thing, inclusivity. I mean, being inclusive. I feel like women are not inclusive. I feel like inclusive, corporate. They're not in corporate. You know what I'm saying?
Explain, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, in this sense, you know, women in corporate are the ones who are representing all women, which is flawed. You know, they form a certain aspect, the other side.
Yeah.
The women in business form a certain aspect, the other side.
Yeah.
There are women out there who are doing other things, and those women are not part of the conversation. So we have corporate women and business women who are speaking for the likes of my sister who are stay-at-home moms, for the likes of Mama Ngole. And being inclusive means Tisamba sadi bote, tisamba sadi baholo, tisamba na, tisamongwe le mongwe eleng gore is feminine, is a female.
You're definitely right about that, because when we pump money, and it's a good thing that women are being recognized as, you know, people who need to be empowered and, you know, aren't being left out of that conversation.
Yes.
But, you know, typically when we do these exercises, they are about basadi ba eleng gore bomme ba eleng gore are in corporate and they want to climb up the ladder, and, you know, we're opening space for them in organizations and that kind of thing. We rarely talk about the stay-at-home mom. We rarely talk about, you know, a teenager in high school. We rarely talk about, just like you're saying, just the feminine aspect of being a woman and the many facets, right?
Like look at what's happening right now. I mean, my clientele is predominantly Muslim. The Muslims are on Ramadan now. They do so much work in their community, in the Muslim community, for underprivileged children and things like that. And then I'm asking myself, what is Christian women?
Yeah.
Regular guy, you know? We've got a crisis.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, but we're always talking about breaking barriers.
Yeah.
What? Like
right.
what?
So
you
then
know?
can we then segue our discussion then into purpose, right?
Yeah.
What we really want to talk about this evening, and you are absolutely welcome to join our discussion via our WhatsApp line, or you can call us on +267 3956 962. We want to talk about women and purpose.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When we talk about purpose, just for starters, as basic as it may seem, or, you know, as obvious as it may seem, I never like to use the word obvious or think that things are obvious. But, you know, when we talk about purpose, what do we mean?
You know, I bumped into something just today, which I thought was so profound. This is a quote by Dr. Caroline Leaf. Your purpose is not the thing you do. It is the thing that happens in others when you do what you do.
Oh.
Let me say that again.
Yeah.
Your purpose is not the thing that you do. It is the thing that happens in others when you do what you do.
Yeah.
So my purpose is not speaking. My purpose is when I speak. What waves go?
What do you invoke?
Exactly. Momotong.
Yeah.
You understand? So we can all talk. But so se buang se hetola motho yang ebile se ira motho eng. What does it do to the person?
Right.
So this is what I want women to understand, that in the end, no matter whether we are moms at home, doesn't matter gore are basadi ba mo dikgwebong kana basadi mo corporate, the biggest thing is when we are older, re setse re le batona kana bana ba rona ba godile, re setse re dule re sa thola re le di CEO, these businesses we've passed down to our children or whoever. What are people going to say about us? Because now for me, it's very simple. To add to that, women, no matter what are they, young or old, they'll always have this thing: build, nurture, teach, guide.
Yeah.
The day and women need to carry this everywhere. I don't know if you're familiar with a lady by the name of Indra Nooyi.
No.
I think that's what her name is. She's the former chairman and CEO of PepsiCo.
Right.
I absolutely love this woman. She's one of those women, when I follow what she's doing and I follow her videos on YouTube, I get a sense of motsadi.
Yeah.
I get a sense of mosadi.
Right.
I get a sense of moagi. I get a sense of somebody who is in her feminine and leading from her feminine. I get a sense of a builder, a teacher, a guide, a nurturer. In the office, in corporate America.
Yeah.
And this is an Indian woman. And then I sit down and I look at it and I think to myself, we have lost our divinity as women, and we need to get in touch with that, our spiritual side, because if you look at wellness, it speaks to 8 areas, Sahahul Ross. Physical, emotional, social, intellectual, financial, occupational, environmental, and spiritual.
Right.
So the spiritual side, we are not in touch with that. That's why we are in the rat race. No matter how big a rat you are in the rat race, you're still a rat. As Robert Kiyosaki puts it.
Yeah.
If you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
Yeah. So we need to understand, Hori, whatever it is that we're doing as women, it's important. It is very, very important, because I do not believe in an organization that only has men. Nor do I believe in an organization that only has women. Because there are for an organization to flourish, we need both genders. And we need to have the right people on the bus and the right people on the right seats in that very bus. We need to exploit the temperaments of different individuals. Agatha and Ross are very good at talking. They mustn't now go to corporate and start trying to be accountants.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons why I quit when I was at BAC. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I found myself. I realized that my personality is geared at having conversations, building, guiding through speech. That's me.
Right.
I cannot flourish anywhere else. I mean, just imagine Agatha in an office. I like the whole day crunching numbers. It just...
You actually, so the people who know you will probably corroborate this in studio, but if you were in corporate, you probably never would get any work done because I
would just get fired. Because you know what I'd be doing? I'll probably have a lot of people coming into my office telling me their problems, and I'll be solving problems and not doing their accounting.
Not doing any work
you understand?
whatsoever.
Let's find somebody who's better suited.
I want us to have that discussion about the steps to take in terms of finding your purpose, right? We can take a break and then come in and have that very important conversation, because, as much as I think from the perspective of somebody who has a purpose or has recognized their purpose, and it can change along the way, you can evolve. I think sometimes there are women in the world who feel stuck and feel like it is some huge sort of undertaking in order to find their purpose, and they think that it's related to money. Okay, but if this is my purpose, will it pay me this, that, and the third? So let's have that discussion about how to recognize, identify your purpose right after this. 7:50 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World, and you're tuned into the Wellness Pod. All right, we've opened up a little space here on Purple Nights every Thursday between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. where we have community building conversations. Tonight, we wrap up our Women's Month series where we are just having women-centric conversations, and we would love for you to be a part of the conversation via our WhatsApp line, +267 3956 962, and you can call us on that line as well, all right? Right now, 7:55 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. My name is Ross. I'm your host, and I am every night on this platform between 7 and 10 p.m. on Purple Nights, and on Thursdays, we do a very special thing on this show. It's called the Wellness Pod, and it is co-hosted by my good friend and colleague, Miss Agatha Atlholang, certified wellness and life coach, as well as a fitness one.
Not only that, but stage, Rossi. It would be problematic if I'm still talking fitness at 43. You know what I'm saying? Transcend our So the thing is, at the end of the day, people always ask that question. How do you find your purpose? This, that. What does that even mean? What does that even look like? You know? And my answer is always this. You cannot fully identify your purpose if you're not on the journey of self-discovery.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, that means as a person Now, in order to find the real you, so you've got different aspects, Moana. You've got your persona, you've got your ego, you've got all these other things in you, and then you've got the true, authentic you, known as the self.
Right.
The self is that part that is one with nature, one with consciousness, one with awareness. It is that part of you, it gets things, it taps into the divine. It's the divine you. So once you tap into that part of you, remember, to tap into that, you've got to dissolve ego ya gago and your traumas. You cannot fully see yourself. O santse o na le low self-esteem. You cannot see the real you. O santse o na le jealousy mo go wena. You cannot see the real you. O santse o na le shame mo go wena. You cannot see the real you. O santse o inyatsa.
Ke gona mo go bitsang shadow.
Yone shadow ya gago yone eo. Le yone eo. Dio tse tsotlhe tse di dirang gore o ska wa ipona sente. Ya ka modimo a go bona.
Right.
So once those layers have been removed, that's when the real you comes out. That's when you start to experience something called synchronicity.
Yeah.
Certain events happening to you, coming together and taking you somewhere to where you are supposed to be, which is your purpose.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Right. Now, for me to have found my purpose, I did the work. I started when I was 36 years old. And today, I am easing into my purpose.
Right. And not rushing.
It's happening. Everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. One moment you go viral. The whole country knows you. You are being called to come and talk here. And then here we are today, more studio.
Yeah.
But how everything is aligned. So nothing that's happening to you is a mistake when you're on that journey.
Right.
And there are no regrets. There's
Right.
just learnings.
Right.
So a purpose is it's not reserved for people by It is for people who are one with consciousness.
Would you say, Hella, looking at collective society at the moment, especially especially collective female society, are we purpose-led, purpose-driven?
Let's speak to both men and women on this one so
Yeah.
that you can
Please.
Hankabe monna ana purpose, ale purposeful, ale in touch with the divine. Nkabe re na le di-case tse di kana tsa rape.
No.
Hankabe bana ba basetsanyana ba le in touch with their purpose and who they are, and if they were to see themselves in the glory that God sees them. Do you think the HIV case nkabe di le kana mo baneng ba rona ba basetsanyana?
No.
Do you think we'd have so many baby mamas? Do you think we'd have so many men abusing women? So clearly, we are out of touch with the divine
Right.
as a people.
I just heard a collective in studio.
Exactly. And there's like 2, 4, 6 of you.
Yeah, no,
you know?
True.
So this is where we've lost it. When we were young, Ross, ne re isiwa kerekeng. Now, the purpose ya go isiwa ko kerekeng is not to make you religious. It's to evoke nnete ya gago ga twe keng, go tsosa segakolodi sa gago.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, your parents are trying to make you sensitive to the world around you and the people around you and yourself through how you see yourself as a divine being.
Right.
Now, if you don't take the kids to church and make them understand, which makes them understand there's something bigger than you. Yes, mom and dad created you in that you came through us, but something created mom and dad and so on and so on.
Right.
And that there are bigger forces, there's another realm out there. And I think this is where Bajwana miss it. Bajwana think there's only this realm here physically. Come sure that's why you're not in touch.
Right.
So we and then come So here is the thing. You are not in touch with yourself. And when you are not in touch with yourself, you lose sight of who you are. And you lose sight of why whose you are, why you are. le gore wa kae.
Yeah.
So mo go reelang gore o tshela hela ha go tsetsetsi eno a re tsa mero go nwa re iphatakanye kwena yo ha go ta go tenya a re tsa memo ro thubela batho mo mantumo kwena yo o na le bona
o mo di high
stay ha go ta go jiki ke rona ba re ro go roga batho mo Facebook kwena yo mo teng.
And you will have all the followers to back that up.
And then there comes a point. Now, here's the beauty of it. If you don't make the effort, this is the divine. The divine, yone ka boyone, e hela e go rupisa.
I was about to get into that. Something that you are very vocal about is Hosa Rupa Ga Batswana.
Yes.
You know, where does that come from? How do you...
Now, when you remove the initiation schools, you are literally killing this aspect to bring out the spiritual being in the person. So the initiation school is actually very criminal, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we did to ourselves. It's like a parent or abuse ngwana. It's criminal.
Yeah.
Because utsaya integrity ya ngwana.
Right.
So when you remove the initiation schools, you rob the person of their integrity.
But then, you know, like the saying goes, how can you miss something you never had, right? So what you always say is, life ends up doing it on your behalf. How does that work?
Now, this is where, yes, and I'm not going to put a blanket statement on this, but I'll give my experience. A lot of the times, this depression, because sometimes chemical imbalance as a person.
Right.
But what we're seeing today, especially as coaches, you know, we are noticing that because the person is in the abyss, they become me-centered. When you become you-centered and you don't see outside of you, your thoughts start to consume you. When your thoughts consume you, what then happens? A thought is something that just comes.
Yes. It's
now,
fleeting.
It's just the thing that's coming, that's just floating. Yeah, no, when I every thought etang. Akanya go rota ka di thought tsa gore o tsuru mo yona ke morato wait gota another thought, then you are dwelling in that wait bosonyane
di a go
laola wa bona re kraya. So that's what then happens to you, and then you start to realize okay, I like this and this and Tom there and ona di do it. Oh my gosh, life is so tough, it's so unfair. Then all your lack and your life is just centered around that. Then the depression comes in. You do what? You are either depressed, you are too stuck on the past, on what you can't get, you can't go back to that, or you're stuck in the future where you haven't even achieved that and you are worried, what are you going to achieve that? Anxiety, depression, right? So then what happens? You wouldn't a mental breakdown. How a mental breakdown? A lot of people by its harbor. This is what you call a spiritual awakening.
Right.
Right? An existential crisis, that's what it's called. So how we see ya. You are robbing yourself of your glory.
Yeah.
So if you don't respond to the call, those of you, let's just throw this in there. Those of you who know the story of Jonah. Jonah was called to go to Nineveh. I decided already he's not going to Nineveh. Never me. In a boat. The fishermen in a whale.
Yes, it swallows him whole.
It swallows him. And then in there, he has an epiphany.
Yeah.
And then he comes to his fullness.
Right.
Now, these are stories. They are myths. They're teaching us the myth of life.
Right.
The prodigal son. The prodigal son is a human experience.
Yeah.
o ra go moraro wa tsenwa wa tswa ga tsama ha o tsena kwa ditsala tsa go di go jala madi yo tsetso te basadi o tshameka le basadi o ira tsetso you find yourself na di dikolobe only at the bottom.
Yeah.
We know of these stories, and then you have an epiphany.
And you have to come home.
Then you have to
back
come
to
home.
Self.
So that's why we are spiritual beings
having a
human experience.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So now we are all trying to come back home.
Right?
We are lost. We are in the abyss. And consciousness is trying to bring us back home.
And it will happen repeatedly. These things will happen repeatedly until you learn the lesson and you get back on track.
And
right?
then that's when we get to find our purpose.
Right? There's a WhatsApp here. By the way, you are absolutely welcome to enter this discussion via 3956962. That's our WhatsApp line. Uncle JP says, bonjour, powerful women. Ross, kante, Agatha, obotajana tota. Janung, oh, my monitor is so far away from me. It says, ha kopane le bothale ja gago. You guys are rocking.
Thank you so much.
So he says, big up you guys. That's from JP. Thank you so much for tuning in. 8:07 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. You're actually tuned into what we call the Wellness Pod. We do this every Thursday on Gabs FM on a show called Purple Nights. That's the show that I host here. My name is Ross, and I'm with you all the way till 10 p.m. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to get into a little bit more of the conversation around women in purpose as we wrap up our series on Women's Month. All right, I hope you can stick with us all the way till 8:30 p.m. Good evening. Welcome back to the Wellness Pod, a discussion that we have every Thursday, or rather a platform that we have discussions on every Thursday between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. And tonight we're wrapping up our series, Tota. You know, somehow I also feel like this is a broader discussion on purpose rather than a women-centric one, and that's okay. You know, we have been very women-centric the past couple of weeks for Women's Month, and just covering so many a broad array of topics, just balancing work and life as well. You know, being a wife, being a stay-at-home wife and mom, as well as just your relationship as a woman with money.
Yeah.
You know, because these are all the things, all the pillars that make up a woman, and we haven't even scratched the surface. You know, we haven't, I think, fully gone into the depths of things over this series, but we have tried, and that's what we do on the Wellness Pod. Off air, we were having a conversation about Horupa, and you know, the boy is asking, Horikante, what does that mean? What is that? And it's a very good question, and that I think everybody has.
Yeah.
And I think the question also was, do you have to absolutely, you know, does it have to be brought about by some sort of existential crisis?
Yeah.
Just something bad needs to happen for you to come forward and be like, hey, ga ke a rupa.
Yeah, like for me, Ross, I mean, as a life coach, Tota, and I think lady psychologists, they'll probably say the same thing. In most cases, their practices are full of people who are struggling with themselves on the inside. You know, you have somebody who's on the verge of a divorce. You have somebody who's just lost a child. You have somebody who they've lost a job and it's hard to deal. There's some sense of loss or emptiness. And that's why we exist as mental health professionals. And, you know, I've never had anyone come to me and Taro, by the way, can I have 10 sessions, Hella, because I'm just happy.
Yeah, I'm good. My life is good.
My life
Everything
is amazing.
Great.
You know?
I found my purpose.
Hey.
I have high self-esteem.
It's like a lot of people who come are people who they feel like they want to go to the next level. They feel like they are lost. They want to find themselves.
Yeah.
They feel like they've got questions to answers. I mean, they've got questions that they need answers to.
Yeah.
There's always a sense of there's something missing, which is something that I experienced. I don't know about you, Ross. I mean, like, I've known you for quite some time and I've seen you evolve, you know. You're not the same Ross that I met to FM. So, I don't know, maybe
two
just...
different Rosses.
Yeah,
really,
maybe just share with us. I mean, like, your experience. And,
It was not a pretty experience for me. I think I've been on the journey of just sort of that self-discovery and coming into a place of my own. Hella since I would say that the moment I realized that I'm actually in the thick of an existential crisis was at the passing of my father. So this happened at the end of 2021.
Yeah.
We are now in 2024. So it's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
You know, what that did for me was, grief is a funny thing, right? It causes a reaction it causes a ripple throughout your life.
Absolutely.
And what happened then is I sort of woke up. I feel like I'm living somebody else's life. I have woken up in the morning and I've looked at all the areas of my life, my work, my family life, my, romantic life, every single facet of my life. And I've stood there and I asked myself, what's going on here? And who is this that wakes up every day to do these activities, has these conversations, has these relationships? Who is that? Because I don't recognize her. If you've ever had a busy day and your computer's on and you have a gazillion tabs open, you don't know where that document is. Did you save it? There's music playing. You don't know where it's coming from. That was my head. You know what I mean? And I just had to have a spiritual awakening and sit down, and I heard just a voice saying, just shut down the computer. We'll start again.
Yeah.
And I left everything. I literally left my work at the time because I had a little nest egg,
Yeah.
And
it's
I
funny
left.
how it does that. You always leave something.
No, you will leave.
You will leave. Wait.
Yeah. You will walk away. No plan. I left my job. I had no plan. I didn't have any. Well, like I'm saying, I did have a nest egg, but nothing, substantial enough to carry me very far.
Yeah.
I left that. My relationship was one of those things. The job, I had to now look at my family and be like, I actually need to get to know these people because I don't know these people.
Yeah.
What is my purpose and how do I how do I fit into all of these things? And actually, Ross, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, that happened and I had to really sit there, and it came with a lot of guilt because I felt like, okay, but Ross, if you leave everything and you're not doing anything, then you're not doing anything with your life. But I had to keep reconciling with myself, this is a process where my job is to sit down and listen. I talk so much, my ego was in the driver's seat, I was always go, and I have no idea what it is that I'm chasing after. I had to really just give myself the grace and the patience to sit down and say, this is my listening period and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit down and listen.
Yeah.
Where am I? Where do I need to be? What is the purpose? Where is it going to lead me after this? Everything that I pick up from here on out and put my hands to is a part of my purpose and building my purpose and also building my community around me, because that's always been part of my purpose, is to come on this platform, speak to people, speak to the daily life experiences of Botswana, get to know them, put their problems out there so that we can get to solving them, build community through this platform that I've been privileged to, be able to steward. So I had to go through a lot of quiet where I wasn't interacting with anyone or doing anything, but so that I could hear a voice that says, okay, now you are ready to proceed. Go here, do that, fix this, change this. So it was a lot of things, going through grief, going through the loss of things that I thought defined me. When we talk about, I think we had this conversation with Dr. Mita the first time, you are not the job.
You are not the job.
So, when somebody asks you, Ross, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm a radio presenter. And I'm like, no. I needed to redefine the answers to those questions and really come back to myself and say, okay, here's your opportunity. You don't have a husband to answer to because you sometimes you just wake up and you're married and you realize, actually, I'm not this person. You can start to freak out. So I had the privilege of, I don't have a husband. I don't have any kids. I really can just start from scratch. So I was very privileged in that regard. But yes, it did take my bestest friend in the whole world, transitioning. And then I was stuck like, okay, then where does that leave me in the chain of things? Where do I fall and actually what's going on?
And I think for a lot of people, they've missed that, because I honestly believe that with COVID coming through, and I think a lot of Botswana you see all this people going viral, batho ba rogana mo Facebook and all of that. People are missing the we are in an era where go thakathakane o tshwantse re o iketshe mo modumong. You need to get out of that. You need to give yourself time. You know, you need to focus on yourself. Life is not a group event.
No, it's not.
We all come here really nosi. We are all going to leave here really nosi. Now, if you don't take the time, ulemoha we bona, usa itabi, ulemoha tota gore, you know what? I am in a space. I'm in a very dark space. And where I am right now, I need to face myself. Now, this is where the problem is, that we're experiencing all these things. We're recognizing all of this. And most of us are running to the bottle. Most of us are running to events, you know. Most of us are running on holidays. We're not sitting down and saying, you know what? Because at the end of the day, the moment it bursts, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you're going to be Jonah.
I'm telling you.
Whale's stomach.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very important to recognize your season.
Yeah.
And not miss it. Because if you miss it, we don't know if you'll get it again. We don't know. You know, you never know.
You probably will because, you know, like we have sort of realized, the lessons will repeat themselves. Just like Agatha does not progress to the next grade until Bapasa. That is how life works. I feel like you'll be going through the same cycle and having to learn the same lessons until you really grasp it and you can move on to the next stage.
But then again, there are people who are older today who never got to learn the lesson, and on their deathbeds, they cry with so much regret.
Yeah, because they've been repeating the same module.
And they never did the work.
Yeah.
You are whole and you are ready to transcend and to leave this realm.
Right.
So, you know, I think that is what we should all aspire to, and not leave botshelo re regret. Because here's the thing, you know, older people, I see this when I coach older people, you know, coaching is very, very, this stage is different. I've noticed that the older people that I coach, I coach them like this. You are coaching them to accept the postures of one and to understand hore.
Right. Oh.
Which is, you know what that looks like? I was so busy with my work, I forgot that I needed to have children and get married, and then I'm feeling it at 40, and then I'm 48, and then now I'm 50, and I'm like, I'm alone.
Jeez. That's an existential crisis.
That's
that
why
can send you into madness if you're not grounded.
Yeah, no, that's why we tell like waria for women, because I've seen that happen. I've experienced those people, and it's not a pretty sight. And I think that's why I go hard on people sometimes, because that pain and going through that. Remember, I don't own people's problems. But it pains me to see.
And it can't not.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we actually have a WhatsApp from somebody who's quickly becoming our third co-host on this show, right? Khao Palelo, who actually turns out to be a coach as well, says, "Good evening, Ross and Boss Lady. The search for purpose is a universal human experience, and women are no exception throughout history and across culture. Societal expectations have sometimes limited women's sense of purpose, but the truth is, a woman's purpose is as vast and varied as she is. And here's how a person can navigate their unique journey in finding purpose. One, because they are listed. Khao Palelo doesn't play. All right. One says self-exploration is key. So knowing the following is important. That's values, what matters to you, compassion, creativity, justice. Identifying your core values is a compass for purpose. I get. Another thing is passions. What ignites your spirit? Is it art, science, social work? Consider activities that energize you. Like we were saying, if you feel like what energizes you is to pick up the kids every day and take them to swimming galas and take them to soccer and, you know, make dinner for the family. That's you, right?
Yeah.
Strengths. What are you naturally good at? Leadership, problem solving, communication.
Yeah.
Should you be really in corporate actually, right?
Yeah.
Leveraging your strengths brings fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is look around you, right?
Yeah.
So she's actually breaking down here the things you need to really consider step by step when you're looking for purposes. Look around you. 1, role models. Who inspires you? What is their purpose and how did they find it? Community needs. What are issues that resonate with you and your family, your workplace, the world? Purpose can be found in addressing these needs. Number 3 is maximizing your purpose then, right? Embracing growth, learning and expanding your skills empowers you to pursue your purpose with greater impact. And you need to take action. Don't wait for the perfect moment because it doesn't exist, right? Small steps aligned with your values pave the way for a purposeful life. And you need to build your network as well. Connect with mentors, collaborators, and others who share your passion. Get a coach, I guess, also is one that I'm going to throw in there. Number 4, she says, finding identity, purpose, and meaning. These concepts are interconnected. Your purpose is what drives you. Your identity is who you are in relation to that purpose. And meaning is the significance you find in your actions. So I think she says it is key to remember there's no one size fits all. We talk about this all the time, right? There's no one size fits all purpose. Your purpose can evolve throughout your life, and usually it does, Tota, if we're being honest. So celebrating the journey is important because, like the boss lady has said, finding purpose is a process, not a destination. Shout out to you for the awesome series that this has been, and that is Gaupalelwe with love from South Africa.
100%. I agree with her totally, 100%. But I'll always maintain, Hori, everything that she's saying there, you're not going to find your values before you do the internal work to remove the traumas that are there. Because how will you know your values if you are stuck in... A lot of the times, remember that you'd think you want to do this, but you're doing it because your mother. You're living in the image.
You're following somebody else's blueprint.
Exactly. So to find those values, and funny, because she's absolutely right, to find those values, you have to have somebody help you to unearth them. There's what you call a values program. I think that's what we have, Lesedi, where we help you to find what are your values, mate. What are your core values?
Let's talk about that because now we've got 2 minutes left on our program. I don't know how this happens to us all the time. We've got 2 minutes left. How do we wrap this up?
When you talk about, I think values is something that we'll just talk about.
Right.
Because values, Ghana people will say to you, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want. But your values are actually what you are living.
Oh.
Hey, not what you think you want. You want the BMW, you want to have this nice house, whatever. But what is your reality?
Those are your values?
Your reality ke gore ga o save o no bujalwa. Your value ke bujalwa. Wa ba le go sa save. So that's why ke gore it's this one is a very tricky one. Gore how re value o raya insente. But you can say I want to I want to go to the gym and I want to do this and I want to do this. Meanwhile, all you're doing is eating all the wrong stuff.
Yeah. Every day it's
where is your value thought? Your value is, people are not what they say. People are what they do.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, so what you do, those are your values. But we can change that if you are serious and you can realize
and that's what a life coach does.
Exactly. And then all these other things that she's listed, 100%. So we need to get there first, because I've always, you ask yourself, it's New Year's, everybody's at the gym. How is it that people are dropping out like flies after 2 months?
What a 2 months?
A month, whatever, So you've got to really ask yourself, what's going on there?
But you can see that there is an innate wanting for it. They want it, but it's never quite... they can't tighten their grip
So
around
we need to
it.
see what the limiting belief is behind that inability to carry on.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah. And not just for gym, but in other facets of your life.
Even in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, Hela, like she said, that's 100%. There are so many things that you have to look at. And I loved what she said, Abuaka Hore. What are you passionate about? Yeah. What fuels your fire?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even know. People, what feels that they wake up every day, they go to work, they come back home, they wake up, they go to work, they come back home. People never give themselves time throughout the day.
Right?
What am I loving?
Yeah.
Hey, what am I, COVID was quite the time for people to sit down and ask themselves, what's actually going on here? And I hope people gave themselves time, and those who didn't, we're having the conversation right now.
Yeah.
As a woman, because we're the feature ya gompieno ne le ka basadi. Ipatisise motho a modimo.
Someone says, good evening, Ross and Boss Lady. I think you should consider recording the wellness pod and upload it on Ikage Motswana YouTube channel. These conversations are insightful. Thank you both so much. We're laughing because that's what we're trying to do. So, we'll share more details about that, in the coming episodes. But we really are trying to sort of throw the net out so that we are having these conversations on a platform where people can access them and where they're readily available for people to watch at their own convenience. But I think, just to wrap up, Agatha, first of all, I must just express my gratitude for your being here and us actually initiating this series, one for women, because, we're women, so we have had our...
I think the country should thank you, mate. So you're the one who called me. I didn't call you.
Yeah, but you agreed. Otherwise, I'd just be here, talking to myself. Unfortunately.
You're a gem and you're an asset.
I really need to thank you for agreeing to come and do this with me. I think we're doing it. It's a step in the right direction, what we're doing. And
you're in a purpose. This is the Lord's work, baby.
This is purpose, right? and what I always reiterate, especially to people from my generation, everything is fast paced. We need instant gratification. We want to see I must go into the bookshop and I must buy a personal development book, and by the end of the 396 pages I must know what to do and what step to take, So we need to just be comfortable with the fact that it's a building process. There's a reason you can't see into the future, because 15 years to get the house of my dreams and the what. So it's really about the journey. And what I always say, Hella, from my limited wisdom as a 30-year-old woman, is that nothing, and I say this all the time, is nothing is irredeemable. You can redeem everything. So whatever stage you are of your life, you really just need to calm down for starters.
And I think, Ross, on that note, sometimes it's like this. Listen, I believe personally, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if there's certain things that are not redeemable, but it opens you to new things. Let me give you an example. I always say women are so afraid of having children, getting married when they are young or whatever. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you find yourself at 24, you're pregnant and you've got a kid. And then you're on some, my life is ended. How transition into motherhood? It's not a new world full of new possibilities.
So what I'm saying, is it's redeemable.
You might not get back. You might not get back that life. Okay, your friends might be going out at night and all of that, and you don't get that particular thing. But you are transcending into a new So I think for me, it's maybe that's what it is, like you're saying. But I just don't want people to be afraid of making, if they've made bad decisions, to think that's the end.
It's really not.
There are other things waiting for you. Just because you're a high school dropout doesn't mean that there aren't any talents you can explore. I'm so now and also even the country.
Right? It can absolutely happen for you. I get.
There's just so much that we can get. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm very passionate about women. I'm very passionate about people growing, Ross, and people living their true lives, their authentic lives. It's a matshelo a batho, or matshelo a eleng gore they've been told to live. And that's why for me it's very important. Like what's her name again? How Palelwe was on this step. You've got to find mentors. You've got to find people by eleng gore ba ka go ruta le wena. So let's be open to that. Let's be open to learning. It's like what you said as well. I had to learn to listen.
Just listen.
Just listen.
Do more listening than
Hey.
you do talking.
But want to
and,
do
you
too
know,
much talking.
Yeah.
And not enough listening.
Yeah.
Wawan. And I think now for me, honestly, and I wish people could call more, but I honestly believe that these conversations, we're in a season where people are just listening and taking
and waiting for conversations like this and to join conversations like this. Yeah, and we by all means do not know everything, which is why we have to open the conversation for us to be able to have a dialogue, to talk, right?
Yeah. So Ross, thank you so much for this feature, and I hope we learned what we needed to learn. And the people in studio, I hope you loved it as well. And Ross, thank you. And Gabs FM. Thank you.
Let's reconvene next week.
Yes.
Do we know what we're doing next week?
No, we don't.
Okay. So I'm just shush. All right. So our Women's Month series has ended the month of March.
Yes.
And, I think we've done it justice. We've tried our best really to get into talking to women, the issues of women. We haven't covered everything, but we definitely have scratched the surface a little bit.
Guys, purpose.
And purpose is really the driving force behind everything. All right. So I guess that's how we wrap up the Wellness Pod. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your listenership is greatly appreciated, whether you've been with us throughout the hour or you've caught it for a couple of minutes here and there. Every second moment that you spend with us is greatly appreciated. All right. We can do this again next week, Thursday, between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m.
Happy holidays, baby.
Happy holidays. Happy Easter holidays. If you're watching this, it is Easter. Whenever you decide, I guess I've just given it away that we are filming this, but if you're watching this, happy Easter. And have a safe and a blessed one, and know that there is light.
Yes,
and
at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's light and then you get into another tunnel, but that's just life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like we said, spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right? I don't think there's anything left to say after that. 8:38 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. Thank you for tuning into the Wellness Pod. Good evening. This episode is proudly brought to you by Bravo Marketing.
For my people,